Party with your host, Dustin Rybka.
Hello and welcome to Sex Party. I'm your host, Dustin Rybka. With me on the show this week is a legend. You know her as Marni, your personal wing girl. She has been helping men to find confidence, to connect with women, to hook up with women, to find partners for 20 years. She's huge on YouTube. She's written books. She has a podcast. She is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to helping men connect. We're going to talk about how you can build confidence. We're going to talk about how she got started in all this. It's a fascinating story. And also why she does not like working with women. We also touch on whether or not she's ever been hit up by celebrities in the DMs, and whether any of her clients have ever hit on her. And we also dabble a little bit in the dating apps and what she thinks of them. This is a big one. It's a full episode. It's got tons of value. It's tons of fun. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Marni, your personal wing girl.
This week's conversation.
Marni, your own personal wing girl. Welcome to Sex Party. This is a huge honor to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be part of a sex party. It's like a first for me. So yeah, bring it on.
Well, welcome to your first sex party.
Love it.
You know, we'll get some drinks flowing here in a second,
Done.
and you know,
I'm in. I've been hearing I know this is not what your show is, but like I have been hearing so much recently about all these sex parties that go on in Los Angeles, and like they fascinate me. Absolutely fascinate me. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, you know what's crazy about that is I think since the pandemic, I've been hearing. I mean, obviously the title for me is like we do talk a lot about sex parties, right? And it's like tongue in cheek because I used to be a party boy and whatever. But yeah, since the pandemic, it does seem like even here in Chicago, like I was in the gym the other day and this guy's like, hey, do you know they have sex parties next door or something? And I was like, wait, what? The hot dog place? They're like, no, behind that. And I'm like, oh, and then I just heard about a bunch of stuff, a bunch of sex parties with like OnlyFans creators.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
LA.
Hedonism I know that's not what your podcast is about, but it like just that name makes me think about it because I've always been super curious. I used to do a show at Playboy Radio like a long time ago, and there was this other show there called Swing. So they're the first ones that ever introduced me to the world of like high end sex parties, and I've always just been super curious. Anyway, I'm getting off track, but this is your show. But I just thought that the name, like the name, sparked a thought for me, a little, a bit of excitement.
We talk to everyone. We talk to porn stars. We talk to doctors. I just did an episode about an hour ago with a sex therapist. So it's like, you know, everyone. This is a sex and dating show, and so everyone's. Well, I mean, at the party, everyone is welcome, and I think there is more of a curiosity with sex parties and with swinging and whatever. I actually there's somebody that I talked to that their first date was a sex party. I mean, could you imagine that? I don't think they did it, that they did anything, but they just went and like hung out and watched.
Yeah.
So, like,
voyeurs. Like that's what me and my husband would be if we ever went to one of these events.
Yeah.
I always like toy with the idea with him because I'm like, do you want to go? He's like, I don't know. Do you want to go? I'm like, kind of. I want to. And then we chicken out. Because it's like, but it's also work to go to these events. It's not like you just go. You have to fill out an application. You have to be accepted. You have to have references, which I mean, as they should for a good sex party. But it's like a lot of legwork. So I don't know. I'll do my own legwork at home with my husband rather than going to a sex party.
Yeah. Well, maybe you guys will get to it. Maybe you guys
one
will,
day.
Something you can. Yeah. And then you have to come back and tell us all about it because you know.
I will. You should have Dr. Tara on because she is a constant sex party visitor.
So she's a good friend.
Oh my God, she's she's amazing. And then she's recently the one who has brought up sex parties to me and told me all about them. So they're pretty amazing.
Yeah, she's been to quite a few, and we love that, right? She's got some of the most amazing advice on. I think she's the future of sex. I tell her that all the time. So
I think so too.
Yeah, and you are the
past, the grandmother of sex and dating.
Oh my God, what the hell? No,
I don't know. I've just hit my 20-year mark of being a wing girl, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not so old, but I'm old compared to all these new people that are popping up. You know?
Do you really feel that way?
Well, right now I'm tired, so maybe I do feel. Oh no, I don't. I feel wiser, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't feel old yet.
You should not, because I feel like I honestly feel like, and I've been watching your content for a long time. I told you this before we started recording. You know, when I was like 2019, 2020, just like dreaming of doing all this and whatever. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I had like this short list, and you were on that list because, you know, after a long day, late at night, whatever, like you're dreaming about what you want your life to be. You're watching YouTube, and then there you were, like, over and over again. And I was like, wow, okay, what is she? And I started consuming your content, and it was just really amazing, and it was so intuitive, and I was like, that's a good one. That, I would do that. And I was
that's
like,
awesome. Oh, man. Thank you.
So yeah, so it's lovely, it's amazing, it's an honor to have you here, like I said. But let's say that somebody, I don't know, they've been in a coma, they've been in rehab, they did a deep sea dive for the last 15, 20 years, and they don't know who you are, right? Or maybe they need to wake up and wherever
they've been in a couple for a really long time and have no idea how to get back into the dating world. Yeah,
exactly, right? So what I want to do, could you talk a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
Yes, I am a wing girl, and I help men understand women so that they can attract, date, seduce, whatever they want, to be honest. I want to give them options as long as they do it with integrity to attract the women that they want. They want so that they can have options and feel like they are the man that they've always wanted to be.
Okay. Yeah. What I mean, and how many? You've done that probably so many times where you introduce.
No, I actually haven't done this in a long time. So I'm like, what am I? Who am I? I don't actually know. No, but I've worked with probably now, through YouTube, through my coaching, through selling my programs, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of men have consumed my programs and become the successful men that they want to be with women. So I give a mix of information. So some of the information is about teaching men how to actually be the men that they want to be. And then the other half is giving the skill sets, tools, techniques, tactics that they can use on women and feel good about using those tactics. Because I grew up, or not grew up, but I came up in a time where pickup artists were the only advice that was out there for men. And while I actually agree with so many of the techniques that pickup artists were teaching, I didn't like the intent behind pickup artists, which is really to objectify women and see women as numbers for the majority of the coaches that were out there, not necessarily for the clients that were consuming the information. But that's why my material is a mix of pickup artist materials with also teaching men how to be really good men and then do everything with integrity, whether they want to have, sex in the bathroom at a restaurant for one evening or they want to have a long-term relationship.
Yeah. Okay. So what if there's guys out there and have you encountered this? I'm sure it's a yes, but like there's guys out there that are like, hey, I want to be single and sleep with many women, have many options. Right. The way to do that, I would think, is just to be honest then with the women Okay.
It's not just like, okay, I would like to sleep with as many women as possible. So after I sleep with you tonight, I'm going to sleep with 4 other women, but it's honest with tact. And the honesty is the flip side of not leading women on to think that there is potential for something more there. That's just the honest portion of it. But you can also speak to women and say, yeah, I'm dating other women. My goal is for me to have great experiences right now. And I want to live my life and I want to have fun while I'm doing it. But I'm really enjoying what's happening between you and I hope it continues. So you can do it all with integrity, and you can also use your words carefully so that it actually entices the women to be on board with what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, I think, and what's crazy is like my background in the nightlife, which they know about, like, please don't talk about it again, you fucking idiot, or whatever, because I've heard it or whatever. But like lots of women, lots of fun times, whatever. I was always kind of upfront about what, hey, like, I don't want a relationship, but like, it'd be cool to hang out or whatever,
Yeah, which is super sexy. And that's a huge challenge to women. Great. Let me see what I can change.
Okay, and
Yeah.
so yeah, well, we ran into that problem too. But
Yeah.
like, I think, and jump in wherever. But when you tell a woman usually that you're just interested in having experiences, it makes some of them, not all of them, but some of them, then all of a sudden like, okay, I need to wrangle this guy. It kind of makes them come
Yeah.
at you. Yeah, okay, yeah.
But
So
that's not like a negative tactic.
no,
But again, it's the truth, right? And then it's their responsibility with how they move forward with things. If they're expecting something to change, then they're, out of luck. Potentially,
Yeah.
right? You could be shifting the way that you are while you're seeing them, and they could be a spectacular woman. But in their mind, they're thinking, oh, okay, I'm up for the challenge. Let's see
Yeah.
how special I am and what I can make you do.
Right. Yeah. Because it's like a power thing back and forth. For a
Yeah.
while.
But you're
Yeah,
also
yeah.
saying to the woman, I'm a man of value. I'm about to conquer, right? I'm still in my driving space and I'm not yet decided on you. And that is extremely attractive.
Yeah. Okay. Besides the challenge part, when they know there's other women involved, that's got to be another piece too, that then they're competing, right?
Yeah, they're competing. There's other women that they have to win over. I'm trying to think like psychologically,
Sure.
like how to explain this, but it's just like, oh, there are other women, but I'm not seen as the best just yet, right? Which puts my focus onto you. I'm sure there's like some biological evolutionary thing behind this, and I've heard it a million times, but I told you I'm kind of tired and I can't really remember it. But there is a reason for it. Like apparently, in the past, 20% of the men that existed were the men that were procreated. 80% of men did not. And these men procreated because they were driven. They could fight. They could present themselves as men of value. And they're the ones who spread their seed all over the place. And so when you are stating things like that to women, you are also positioning yourself as that man that is in the 20% that women are vying for so that their existence can live on. So, subconsciously for women, there is a challenge, yes, but there's also a message being sent that I am a man of value who has not decided yet how I want to move forward with you or with other women. And they want to help you decide.
Yeah, I mean that's giant, right? The competitive sort of mindset that you can then simply activate in someone by just being interested but not always available, right? And only available for certain things. And that's what I love about your content is like you key in on stuff that other people like an Andrew Tate or something would take and make really disgusting and like, and I've heard people say like, well, some of his stuff is good. And it's like,
and I've actually said that, to be honest. I'd never heard of him before. And I asked my team to send me a few videos of his. Maybe they just sent me like really PG videos, but I was like, oh, I like what he's saying. I don't like how aggressive he is, but I was like, he's freaking young. He sounds like all the old pickup artists who are now on a totally different path and train because they're older and they have more experience. They don't want to be assholes anymore. But but actually, I broke down a video and I was like, I like what he's saying. I just don't like his tone because he underneath it all, there was a good message there for men to take ownership about who they are. The flip side of it is that he wasn't saying, but don't be a douchebag.
Yeah, and also like, he's got a big, huge problem with like women doing like sex work and OnlyFans creation and stuff like that. And I think that just disqualifies him in my mind, right? But I do have a lot of younger men who come to me and sometimes it's argumentative and sometimes it's just like a conversation, but it's like, no, he does have a good mindset when it comes around whatever. And I'm like, listen, for me, as soon as he's like putting down women for doing OnlyFans or whatever, I gotta disconnect, or whatever. Same with Jordan Peterson. Like I thought at the beginning he might have had some points where it's like,
what happened to Jordan Peterson? I'm I'm not on social media. So I don't even know.
My own personal shit. Like I had all his books ready to buy and whatever, and then I saw this clip, one of him. Just like he wasn't berating this woman, but he was on some news, morning news thing. And he's like, are you going to have kids? And she's like, I don't think so. I'm busy. I don't want to whatever. And he's like, well, when you get to 40, your life's going to really suck. And it was like, oh no, why would you say that? And then there's this video going around that keeps getting yanked off the internet of him like going absolutely bonkers, like in a Burger King and like screaming and crying about chicken fries. If you can find it out there, like whatever.
That is hilarious.
And I like, nobody's perfect. I get it. But some of these things, it's hard to take them seriously when they're saying something valuable, when they're doing some behavior that's like wild shit.
When they're doing the exact opposite. That is the horrible part about social media, is you get to humanize all these people that you think are really great. But so I'm sure you could catch lots of footage of me doing things. Trust me, I have breakdowns around my children every single day and I go off the cuff. But like, I don't fault people. It's interesting because my husband is a huge follower of like, I'm not going to even say who it is, but like a functional medicine doctor right now. He's like really into functional medicine. And I mean, the whole world is following this guy. And something came out about him womanizing. Does that take away the amazing research that he's done? And the truth is that in the past, there have been great men who have done fucked up things, but who have also done really great things. Like Martin Luther King used to like abuse his wife, right? Or cheat on his wife, but he was amazing. There's so many. I don't know if I share the same opinions where I discredit somebody's information just because they're also human. But it does give me pause and makes me reevaluate who they are as individuals, not necessarily their intent with the information that they're putting out there. I have to look at it with a different lens, but I feel like I can still take in things that they're, and maybe I don't see them as so serious. Maybe I see them as people, and maybe that's what the difference is, but I like their information.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. We go through it all the time. Like people are like, oh my God, John Lennon. And then it's like, well, he also cheated on Yoko Ono. And it's like, Oppenheimer. Like, yeah, but did you know? And it's like, Walt Disney, like he didn't like Jewish people. It's like, God damn it. What the fuck?
Who can I like now? Right? Who can I like?
Yeah.
So it is interesting and challenging, but I don't think so go back to Andrew Tate. It is funny. I haven't seen enough of his information, but I've heard about some shady things that he does. But at the end of the day, he has a big message. He's a good marketer. He did something right. Something was right that was there, even though some shitty stuff came out of it.
Yeah, and he keeps getting arrested, and it's like, yeah, what's going on? What the fuck? I know. It's wild. To pivot off that, but you mean your content? I mean, how long have you been doing it? Because I want to give people a scope
20 years.
Okay, 20 years. See what I mean?
When the internet was created, that's when I started.
The dawn of the internet.
The dawn of the internet. Like I was one of the first dating channels on the internet.
Yeah, for sure. And what I want to do is give people a scope even more because like of how much of a legend you truly are in this space, because you are, come on. I mean, I know you can't be like, yeah, I am, because that would sound like LeBron James. No,
that sounds so uncomfortable to me, to be honest.
Okay.
It does.
So then I'm going to keep
I appreciate it. It feels nice to hear. I do most of this from like a box in my house, and then but
you're good at it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
And you're consistent, which I think when you combine those two things, it unlocks, if you're just not willing to, I mean, first of all, you have all this amazing content, and please, people, to stay here and listen to this interview. Do not leave. Then afterwards, when this is over, then go watch all her videos. If you're a man, if you're a woman, there's interesting stuff. It does not matter. And that was another reason why I wanted to have you on, because I just think your mind is perfect for this kind of conversation around like dating and all of these other people that are trying to do this thing and like whatever, and sex and all the things. So you have this incredible YouTube channel that if you're not following, you should follow. But then you also have written like, is it 5 books? You have a podcast?
Oh, I've like programs. I have over 20 programs. I've done over 40 different masterclasses with different experts. I have a podcast. But books specifically, like actual books, probably like 7 or 8 books.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff.
Tons, right? And so when you first started on YouTube, like what was that like? Were you like, this is never gonna fly, or was it immediate?
No, I did it by mistake. So for me, I'm a cheapo, right? So for me, I had my WordPress site. I was really into blogging and doing interviews on other people's platforms. That was the thing that I liked best. And so for me, when I would have really good content of mine, I would want to put it onto my blog, but I didn't want to pay for a website to host my videos because I had no money back then. So I put it onto YouTube. right? So I'd put these videos onto YouTube and I would never go on YouTube to see how they did. And it was very inconsistent posting. And then about 2 years into doing this, somebody who was, I think I was hiring them to help me with, I forget what it was, but they're like, you have a really big following on YouTube. I was like, I do? And they're like, yeah, you have like maybe 1 million hits on one video and like a couple of 100,000 followers. I was like, no freaking way. So I went onto YouTube and I saw this and I was like, oh my God. And they're like, yeah, you should just start posting consistently. And I think you would get a bigger following. So I was like, okay. And at the same time, the lifestyle online magazine called Ask Men, they had contacted me and they said, do you want to start vlogging for us? And I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. I would love that. It's a great audience that you have. I can be exposed to them and I can use that content on my YouTube page. So they would come, we would shoot 10 videos. And then once they posted it on their page, I would post it on mine as well. So I had more consistent content. And then after, I guess, like 3 years of doing that, I just started creating my own content that was separate from the Ask Men stuff. And then it's just consistently grown over time. So yeah, it wasn't like I was questioning, will this work? It was sort of like, oh, this is working. Like, let's keep building it then. And people seem to like what I have to say. So cool.
Yeah. No, I just think there's a good message in there for anybody who's a creator, especially around this kind of stuff. It's like, yo, just stay focused and it doesn't really matter. Just keep putting good shit out and showing up. As long as you keep showing up, you can't lose.
That is the pattern. It's put good stuff out. It doesn't even really have to be great, like production wise, but good content that people can consume easily and just be consistent. Those were the biggest messages that I ever learned from anybody that I've ever worked with when talking about YouTubing or any social media platform is just, it's really consistency and then good content.
Yeah, no, totally. So, okay, we're going to dive into the $64 million question, which is why and how did you wind up picking, I'm going to help men find better partners. I'm going to help men get laid. What was it about men and not women? What was it about like?
Because women are fucking crazy. I can't help them. No, I'm just joking. But it's fun.
That's going to get clipped.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, I had always done this for my guy friends. And I was fascinated by like men and women. And I'll be honest. My clients, I used to have the same belief systems around women. Like, I'm not a lesbian, but I used to be really uncomfortable and insecure around women. I put them on a pedestal if they were pretty. I did exactly the same things that most of my clients did. And when I was younger, I seemed to gravitate more towards male friends. That's who I hung out with because that's who I was more comfortable around. But as a woman who had a lot of guy friends, I understood that side of male friends liking you, guys being attracted to you. I was, cute when I was younger, so I was getting attention from guys. So I would deliver what was going on in my mind to them. And my husband's always said this. He said, if like my friends need advice on women, they can come to me and I can support them, but I would always send them to a woman to get advice. And on the flip side, I would always say to my girlfriends, go ask my husband for advice if you want information about men, because he knows it better than me, right? I can give caring, supportive advice. And now I can obviously give insight because I've now worked with so many men, a little bit more insight than most women. But if you really want information, I would say to go to the sex, gender, and I'm probably going to say that totally incorrectly because I'm over 40 years old, but whatever it is, you go to whoever you're trying to attract and you ask them what's going on for them, but ask really good and direct questions and you'll get the response more so than from the same people who are trying to do the same thing as you. So that I've always been really good at it. And then when I moved out to Los Angeles, I went to this singles mixer. It was at a rabbi's house. And I had just met my husband a month earlier. And I was like, oh, you know what? He's better than the guys here. But nobody's talking to each other. I'll help some people out. So I started grabbing men and talking to them and loosening them up and then dragging them over to talk to the women that they wanted to talk to. I'd tell them what to say. I would kind of show them how to stand a little bit better. And then I would leave when they were having good conversations. And by the end of the night, I had done that to, I'd say like 7 or 8 people that were there. And people were chatting and one couple was making out and people were exchanging numbers. And I went home like buzzed from doing that because it was so fun. And I said to my roommate, I want to be a wing girl. He's like, I don't know what that is, but nobody's going to pay you to help them meet women because guys don't care what women think. And I said, I don't think you're right. So I went into my room. I posted an ad on Craigslist. So this is old, on Craigslist at like 1:00 in the morning, which said, what better way than to attract women? Oh, attract bees than with honey or something like that. Sit back and relax. I will be your wing girl and I will pick up women for you. And I went to bed and I had like over 75 responses by the next day. And I worked in PR at the time. And so I was like, oh, there's something here. So on Monday, I went in, I downloaded every outlet for men, and I just started pitching myself out to all those publications. And, I quickly made a name for myself in that space because nobody was doing that at that time.
I mean, a true revolutionary again. Like,
I guess. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, what year was that?
2004.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, how revolutionary to take what you had done and gotten high off at the party and then go home, do the Craigslist thing, and you're like, you didn't wait, you just went right for it, right?
Yeah, but the truth is, if he would have said, "Oh, great idea," we probably would have joked about it and gone to bed. So, like, the best thing ever was that he said no to me. You can't do it, and I was like, "Oh, yes, I can." So that was a huge drive for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Just like when you're talking to girls and you're saying like, I'm still single and having fun. Oh, well, I can change that. It's the same. It's that same, that same draw that's there.
Yeah, no. Okay. So at the party, were you prefacing with like, "Hey, I'm unavailable, but I'm going to hook you up," or were people trying to be like, "Wait a minute, can I just like?"
No,
hit
it really wasn't.
You?
It really was not at all. No, I don't even remember any of that. It was just like we were just chatting and I said, which girls are you interested in? So I think I already positioned myself as like, I'm not into you, but like, which girls are you into? Right? Okay, go over and approach her. They'd be like, I'm not going and approach her. I'm like, well, come with me. I'll show you. Start by saying this. Talk a lot about this. And then I would just leave when they were good.
That's fucking awesome.
It was fun.
Yeah. No, it's fucking awesome. I love that. Like, what an amazing origin story,
Yeah. Well, actually, the better part afterwards. So I know you were in the party scene, but I don't know if you were in the pickup scene at all. But I went back to that singles mixer, which was really just dinner at a rabbi's house. Like I was very into the Jewish community when I first moved to Los Angeles for some reason. And I was sitting there talking about what had happened the last time that I was there, how I started a business and it was really cool. And because we're talking about relationships. So everybody's like interested in that. Oh, yeah. And this guy had a business card and he slid it down the table and he said, "We need to talk after this." And I was like, okay. And it was, I don't know if you know who this is, Ross Jeffries, who's like the grandfather of the pickup artist world. Like he's the original pickup artist. And so that's who I happened to meet right there at that event. So it was like, it was meant to be, I think, for me to be doing this. And then he just exposed me to the whole underground world of male coaches that were helping men. So it was very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is a whole other world when you get into that.
It totally was. And it is still.
Yeah. I mean, how long? I think it's probably the methods have maybe changed a bit or no? Like for that.
I don't know. I think people still get those methods. Like people still like mystery method. That was like a big thing. He was on that show, The Pickup Artist on VH1. And I think a lot of the teachings are still there. I just think, I guess they have new hats on now, these pickup artists. They're just like either more aggressive dating coaches with like ill intent versus like, other male dating coaches who don't want to, trash women. It's just a different way of seeing it versus like we're in the pickup world with the pickup layers. It's all like above ground now, I think.
Yeah. I have a guest that's, one of my friends, and she's been on the show so many times, Sarah Javons, and she was in that world with those guys, right?
Cool.
The game that booked the game. And so she was like the only girl in this male dominated thing. And she worked in that. So I've heard a lot about that, but the basic tactic they were teaching guys was like, you walk up to a woman and you say something negative about her, like it was called negging or something. Right. And I feel like that can't still be a thing. There's no way.
I mean, but it still works. Yeah. Like, so I remember going to speak at this conference, and there was Mystery was there, who was a very big pickup artist. And he did his whole routine on me. And I was like, I'm in. Like, I'm having fun. I'm engaged. And he stood beside me and he goes, "You're short," which is like a bit of a neg, right? And I was like, "You're tall," you know, and it just, we just had a fun conversation. And then he was able, this is like part of the routine too, able to get me isolated in the section. So he moved me over to a different couch. We were in like a conference hall too. It wasn't like we were in a bar or anything, but I was thoroughly engaged by the conversation because it was fun. It was totally fun. And I was making the choice to do everything that I was doing. That's why I'm saying, like, there are negative sides to pick up, but it's also fun. Like, and I think women, even if they're 75, are still open to fun when it comes to interacting with men.
I would agree with you. And I think, I just think it's so, and I told you this before we started recording, but I'll say it again so they can hear it. Like, one of the biggest reasons I got into doing nightlife was, like, at 19 years old, I remember like using pickup lines and getting the courage up to go talk to a stranger. And like, sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. Right. Yeah. And you brush it off, you go to whatever. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, I need to mentally, I was like, I need to like make myself either famous or rich or something or whatever. So then that way I just don't do anything. And so one thing led to another, and I became a nightlife promoter. And I never had to fucking do anything ever again. I just had to show up and host the party, right? And they were just like throwing themselves at me, and it was wonderful, right? But I think when you're not a nightlife promoter, when you're not a podcaster or someone famous or whatever, it is hard, I think. And I think that's why you're so successful, is because it is difficult. I mean,
it is difficult, but you think about like what it is that made you so great on that stage. First of all, putting you in that position of power definitely pulled out a different persona in you, right? Pulled out a different level of confidence, a different swagger, the way that you carried yourself, probably the way that you dressed too, and the way that you viewed other people, right? That you had the control and power. And those, that I'll call it a skill set, because it is. That skill set can be learned even if you're a lawyer, even if you're an accountant, even if you're a janitor, even if you're working at Walmart. It just, you just need to find other ways to hone and own that same charisma with the right mindset that puts you into that space. Because the guy at Walmart who thinks like, I'm the fucking cashier and I can check all of you out and I'm going to make you laugh and have a good time and I'm going to flirt with you while you get checked out and let you know that I'm a man of value, like, he can still be attractive. Right? If he also puts himself together, there's so many things that you gain from having a role in your life that can also carry over into different areas. You just had a faster route to it.
Yeah. I was like, I need a fucking shortcut. This is bullshit.
Yeah. And the truth is like, so a lot of those lines are great training wheels for people. And like, even for you kind of tried them on and then just said, nah, I can do better. Right? That's sort of what they're there for. They're there to give you some theory to show you the potential of what can happen. And then, because you're a man who like makes things happen, right? So you were like, nah, this isn't good enough for me. I can't just have a 47 or 40-60 shot. I want to go for like 95%. I'm going to do better. And it's also that drive, right? That also made you sexy as the promoter. And you got the job as a promoter because of that drive. So there's like so many parts to it that made you attractive, rather than just this title of like, I'm a promoter now and now women chase after me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because you could be a sucky promoter and like go putting flyers on cars. But it's like, for me, I was like, I'll put the fucking flyer on the car and then I'll fucking hit up somebody about whatever. And then I'll fucking, I was like shameless, right? But when the time came to host the fucking party, I'm showing up in a suit. My job is that you all have a really fucking good time.
Yeah.
And I'm not letting anybody leave this party until we are fucking right. And so I'm on the microphone.
That's the mindset for men to have too. It's like, I'm the best guy in the entire world. I'm going to make sure you have a good time because I know how to have a good. It's like that same thing that crosses over into where guys need to be to get the success with women. So everything that you just said is like kind of verbatim the mindset that we're helping guys to obtain in any of the programs that I teach. So that was actually perfection what you just said.
Well, thank you very much. It's a huge compliment coming from you, and myself and perfection don't ever really find themselves in the same sentence. So thank you again.
That's going to make you even better. Like, see, even that there, like that's attractive.
Sure.
Right? Because the ones who are like, yeah, I am perfect. Like those are the ones that girls are like, are you?
Well, your
not
hat's
into
weird.
you.
Yeah.
But the fact that you just said, like, even that, like, those are, I'm just trying to keep pointing out sexy things that men can say, like sexy traits. Like the guy who is humble and doesn't thinks that it's perfection, that he's going to continue to drive for more. That's super attractive.
Yeah. And, that's such a fucking move too. And like, I think to be self-deprecating, and I love Conan O'Brien, but like not in a Conan O'Brien where he's beating himself up all the time, but like to be self-deprecating, like people are always asking me like, my girlfriend loves to sing karaoke. And I remember one of the first times she asked me, I was like, I will clear the fucking place out. I'm terrible. And it was just like, I wasn't saying hey, I suck at this. Right. But like, if you own it and you're self-deprecating and yet you're still confident, like, hey, I might suck at karaoke, but like, we're going to suck
together and we're going to have a fucking good time. Right. Like who doesn't want to jump on board with that person? Like that is amazing.
Or I'll kick your ass in bowling instead or something. Right. Or whatever. And so like, are you finding, just to go back to basics, right? Like with guys in general, I mean, I know you've been doing this 20 years, so it's probably changed, but just, I'm going to generalize because whatever, I'm allowed to. So what do you think when men come to you, they're consuming your content, they're in your programs, which are incredibly valuable, obviously. And your shit because your shit, you are who you are, and you just demonstrated it like in a 2-second thing right there, right? What do you think, like, if you could just pause and take a snapshot, what do you think that men are doing wrong? Big question, no pressure. Well, what do you think men are doing wrong when it comes to like getting the confidence to meet women and actually like following through, right? That's
exactly it. That's what they're doing wrong. They're not doing anything and they're not following through. And that's not masculine, right? That's not attractive to women. Men who don't go after what even guys who pay thousands of dollars for some of my high-end programs where we like literally work with these guys. We have flirting sessions with wing girls. We have one-on-ones with me. We're doing a style makeover for them. And some of these guys invest so much money and they still they get so uncomfortable and scared about going after what they want, establishing boundaries for themselves, and taking risks to put themselves out there that they just sort of disappear. They stop doing programs with us, and I see this all the time. About 10% of the guys that we work with, that's what happens to them. Some of them come back 2 years later and say like, now I'm ready. Right. But that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing for anything, right? Whether you're trying to be an entrepreneur and start a business or you want to be a doctor, it's all the same thing. It's just like really not believing that you deserve or you can have these things. That's the biggest error that I see. So it is like under the umbrella of follow through, taking action or establishing what you want, taking action on it, and then following through and making it happen.
And do you, I mean, well said, right? But of course you would be, I mean, that's your fucking core right there. It's like, you have to like the follow through. I mean, people couldn't just like totally, even this podcast, right? Like this equipment sat on this fucking desk for fucking 2 years, year and a half, whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I wanted to do it and I knew I could do this part of it, like whatever. Right. But it was like, what font am I going to use? Right. Like, how does this microphone screw into this thing? That's what fucking, so even
it's the minutia. It's like the little things that get overwhelming. So like what I've always done with my content and my programs is I've broken it down the same way that I like to learn or the same way that I do in my head. I have a vision of something big and then I break it down to small steps that I can accomplish. And I think I just do that automatically now, but I know I was very aware of it before. And then that is how all of my programs are laid out for individuals. They're little wins that they can have. It's baby steps. It's not just like, hey, go and approach like 30 women. It's like, okay, no, go and approach this woman with the intention of, I'm just going to approach. And this is the experimental phase. And everything that happens is research. Anything after the hello is bonus for you. Your job is to just do those approaches today, nothing else. So it's like, it's breaking it down into bite-sized chunks that are achievable rather than it becoming super overwhelming.
I mean, do you get in depth, like how they dress, how they like groom and maintain? Is there that level of it, or is it more of like, how in depth are you going?
Yeah, that's become a big part of it recently, because I've realized how much like your outside does impact your inside. Like even for me, I told you, like I didn't sleep for 3 hours last night. I'm wearing a button down shirt. I, didn't do my hair or anything. And I feel okay. Right. But when I do my makeup and like I put my hair in a certain way and I dress a certain way, my whole body responds differently. Like people respond differently to me and I respond differently to them. There's a whole myriad of other skills that are part of it too, that create the pull towards you. But the way that outside look has impact on how your inside feels, and vice versa. Right. But I think like if you quickly want to be able to appeal to a mass amount of women, switching up your style, getting shirts that fit, having a haircut that doesn't make you look like you're like, a math teacher from 1984, like it matters, right? And for right now, especially if you're dating online, as great as it is to think, oh, she should like me for me. We're going into a superficial world where people are window shopping for potential partners. And if in the window you see like a 30-year-old scruffy pair of shoes at the shoe store, you're going to pass by and go to the next shoe store that has really nice new shoes that are buffed and clean and look like you could actually walk in them for a long period of time. So that's what, that's why you have to step it up for your style and fashion, and be a part of 2024.
No, I fucking love that. That's amazing. And then so also like that stuff makes you feel better about yourself too. Like you totally carry yourself differently. It's almost like you're becoming a different character, alter ego, or something, a better version, a higher version of your omega self, or whatever that is. I think that's super, super cool. And that's why I wanted to ask that, because some coaches are just like, hey, I'm only on this part of it. And then other people are like, no, it starts with whatever. But have you ever had clients that then turn around and like try to hit on you?
You know what? I've never actually had that. And I think it's like similar to the question that you asked before about, at that singles mixer, did they misunderstand what was happening or try to hit on me? I think it's quickly established that you're learning from me. You're not hitting on me. A couple of my wing girls have had that happen before, right? Where the guys will start flirting with them. And then for them, they have to put a boundary in place and just say, no, I'm not to be flirted with. I'm teaching you how to flirt. But I've never actually had that. But the girl who was my partner in the very beginning, who's one of my really close friends, who decided to become a therapist shortly after we started this together, she, I think like it was the 10th guy that we had worked with, and she did like an onboarding for him. And he wrote me and he said, do you have somebody like Nina? Like, I would love to date Nina. And they ended up dating for a bit afterwards. But that's the only time that it's really ever crossed over. Plus, I'm very clear that I have a husband and it's off the table for me.
Well, some people are just crazy though. You never know,
Crazy guys don't see, really crazy guys do come my way, but not on that level where most of the guys who come to me aren't confident enough to hit on me.
Yeah. Well, so at what point in this journey with you being this creator and helping all of these men, at what point did your husband come along into your life and then become your husband? Like what year was that? What season?
So I had met him a month before I started this. I remember he was, and he had gone to Santa Barbara the weekend that I went to the singles mixer, and he came back and I was like, I started a business. And he's like, what are you doing? And I told him, and he's like, so you're an escort. And I was like, no, it's a little bit different. So that's interesting that you said that. So he was like very cautious because he's like, wait, you're putting an ad out on Craigslist to go out with these guys. So it is. And like, even when I called home and told my parents, right, they were like, I sent my daughter to LA to become like an escort, like everybody else out there. And then, because I was in PR, then I had my first article written about me. I was on like every radio station in Los Angeles. I was going to New York to do all these serious like satellite appearances. And they're like, oh, you have a business. That's cool. And so same with my husband. He was very cautious in the beginning. Sure. And he would come with me to make sure that the guy, because it was like kind of sketchy what I was doing. I was meeting up with these guys from Craigslist, right? Who were sliding me money under the table. It was all very shady. And then after about 6 months, when I turned it into more instructional, educational, and put it online and took away the in-person portion, that's when it became like a legitimate business in his eyes and in my eyes. And then he became my husband, I guess 5 years into it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so that leads me to my next question, because I've seen a lot of like celebrities share over the years, like share your stuff and be like, this chick knows what she's doing. I can't recall who exactly, but I've seen a lot of celebrities share your
Really?
stuff. Yeah. Like on Instagram,
good job. I like that.
TikTok or whatever. So have any celebrity, and you don't have to say who, but have any celebrities ever slid into the DMs?
No.
I'm so surprised.
I don't check social media, so I have no idea. Maybe they have.
Well, maybe check your fucking
oh my God.
Your
George
dummy
Clooney
folder.
could have been married so much earlier if I had read my DMs. No, I have no idea. I have worked with some female celebrities, but not male. No, I've never.
Okay.
No.
So when you say worked with female celebrities, you mean like you've helped them with their pickup game, or you guys have
helped them with their pickup game?
Oh, okay. So this is interesting, because I was going to flip this right towards the end, but we can do it now. Okay. So you work with women too?
So I don't really work with women, but it's been requested for me to work with women. So I would say 6 years after I started my business, maybe even earlier than that, I was asked to come to New York and speak at this conference for women who were dating. I was like, why do you want me to come? I don't know what I'm talking about. I can't advise women. Like, I'm not in a man's head. And when I got up on stage and they were asking me questions, I realized just how much I had learned about men in the 5 or 6 years, where even in my personal life, I was starting to notice, instead of me being like, oh, what a jerk, he didn't this, blah, blah, my advice would start to gear towards, but that's not how men work, right? And so that was the information that I was sharing with women, just exactly what was going on for these men. And from that conference, and then I think whatever social media was put out for that, then I started getting more females reaching out to me. Actually, I wrote a book for women as well called That's Not How Men Work. But that's where just the handful of like celebrity-ish clients came from. But I do not like working with women. I don't. It's not fun.
Why? Well, why?
They're tougher. Women are tougher. I'm tougher as a woman as well.
Right.
I want more and I do less. That's not true for all women. It is definitely not true for all women, but the women that were coming my way didn't want to do what I was saying and questioned it. And the thing I loved about men is they just listened. If they questioned it, they didn't buy it, right? But if they bought it and they wanted to work with me, they did what I said and they got results. And I liked that.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, well, what you said is very interesting. A couple of things. One, you could be a bit of a double agent in a good way, right? Because you are a woman, you know what women want, therefore you're valuable to men. But then you go over to women and it's like, hey, 20 years with all these dudes, right? Yeah. I've seen it. I know it. And then you have all that. And then you say on top of that you want more and do less, which I think is just a trait that, women, especially high value women, they don't have to work to get the attention of men. And that's why, it's so funny because, and I've dealt with this in my personal life too, years back, but I was having a conversation with my girlfriend who is a relationship expert. She does coaching, all the things.
Oh, cool.
And she's really good at it too. And it's like, she was having this, her and I discuss stuff when we're sitting at the kitchen counter in the morning, we're going over our separate worlds. And she's like, I have this client and, she's really, really attractive. She's really smart. And guys just fall over back. Their shoes pop off every time they, because they're falling down. And it's never been hard for her. But all of a sudden she likes this guy. He's just not giving her the attention. She wants to quit. And I'm like, because she's not getting that easy thing. Yes. I think that is such you did a recent real video about it where you talk something about that, where it's like, women don't want a guy who doesn't have options, right? If you show too much interest, if you look desperate, I mean, talk about that a little bit if you can, like how powerful that is and where the line is, because it's different if you are in love or in a relationship or
Totally.
whatever.
But actually, no. At the same time. So I do a podcast, as you know, and I had my friend Mark Singh come on, and he, like, I've verbalized this a million times, but he actually made it really simple. He said 80-100. For every 100% that she gives you, give 80% to her, and do that consistently throughout the relationship. And we had a big conversation about that, because I was like, could that, does that ruin things later on because she has animosity towards you because you didn't give her everything? He's like, I'm not saying that we didn't have conversations. I'm not saying that I wasn't giving to her at all. It's 80-100, right? So if she writes 3 texts to you, you write back 2 texts to her. Right. So it's just, what it's really doing is allowing that mental space for men to hold on to who they are, instead of becoming the needy man that gives a woman 100% of themselves and forgets about themselves as man. So it's just a quick way to kind of remember, like, maintain composure and still put yourself first, but still respect, hear her out, have conversations with her, and then give her what it is that she needs and wants when she's saying that she really needs and wants that. It's not telling you to withhold anything from her. And so I thought that was very interesting and a really great way for guys to get this concept, so that they don't become really needy with women. So, because so many men, if a woman's not giving them attention, they'll text them 7 times, and the woman will text back once, and they'll text back 7 times. That's not 80-100. And there's like tons of tactics for switching that around, but you're not living the 80-100. You're 160 to her, whatever, her 2% or whatever it is. So that's a really great way, I think, of thinking about it. 80-100.
Well, especially like in the pursuit. I mean, how else would you? I mean, that's how I would do it, right? Too, but it's like you're right. You are being truthful. You are being passionate. You are being like who you are. You're not lying. You're just only like giving as much, just shy less of what. I mean, that's again like
of what she's giving to you, of what she's giving to you. So you can maintain that composure and not go overboard, right?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so let's make this way more complicated. Okay. And then you can give your opinion on these, on these apps, but the dating apps, the 80-100 thing on the dating apps, I feel like is just going to get you shot in the foot, and that's just my own personal, because it moves so much quicker. What is your advice to men or women or whatever, but mainly to men, because that's who you work with most? Your expert advice on the dating apps. What are your thoughts?
Okay. So that's a very vast question. So what is my advice on the dating app? So the thing is that I remind guys that dating apps are super superficial, right? So as I said before, like, you got to look freaking good. And the truth is that 10% of men succeed online. 90% get ripped off, scammed, and get approached by prostitutes or women who are going to be pen pals for the rest of their life. So I do think that the 80-100 rule sort of lies. And the 80-100 rule applies because it's about not pouncing on women, not giving too much for them, and not selecting them simply because they've selected you back. It's still allowing you to take a step back and evaluate the women that you're interacting with. So I think so many guys use online dating incorrectly. They either just swipe right on everybody, and they're not being selective, right? So swiping right is giving 100%, right? You don't know her. You don't know anything about her. You're not respecting yourself because you're not actually like looking into who she is. Then if they match, they're talking to the woman and they're already invested in her. Again, not doing the 80-20 because they're not thinking like, do I like this woman? What questions do I need to ask of her that will tell me if I should go out with her? It's really important for me to be able to have fun with women. Can I have fun with this woman? Will she have fun with me online? Let's see. Yeah. Right? They already are won over by these women. So the women only have to do 40% online and they're doing the rest of everything. So I think like in trying to tie it into the 80-100, that would be the way that I would explain it to them, to not dive in so easily to women. You have to play around with them and also figure out what it is that you're looking for in somebody. If it's just casual fun, right? You want to see if somebody is casual fun. So you can start playing with them. You can start slipping in some sexual innuendo. You can misconstrue something that they're saying and see if they want to play back with you. You can have really good freaking pictures on there that paint you in a great light. Right? Or you can have your own stupid selfies of you in the bathroom with your disgusting closet in the background, and you're not going to get the same results. And I'm like just throwing a bunch of information.
No,
like
sure.
this, but there's like so many things to be worked on with a profile and the way that guys use online. And like most of the guys that I work with, their tactic is swipe right on everybody. That's not being a selective man of high value. If he swipes right on everybody, what does that say? You just will take anything? Great.
Right.
But that's what you're reinforcing to yourself every single day. That's not good. So be more selective. Obviously, you're going to be attracted to really gorgeous women. But if a really gorgeous woman is so won over by you, right, instantly, is calling you baby, sending you messages in the morning, she will be asking for money 2 weeks later.
Yeah,
from you.
she's a fucking Indian guy trying to get your credit card number. Yeah,
right, exactly. So it's about having boundaries, being more selective, and being more clear on how you want to select these women and bring them into your life.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing too. Is like, and maybe it was the time that I was on there, but I was on the dating apps 21, 22 for a bit. And I was just like so tired of it. My issue was I would get matches, right? And and then I would try to play it out a little longer, try to get to know somebody better. And they would either just immediately disconnect, like they would just end the connection, or they'd be like, hey, like I need, like, are you in this for marriage and kids? Because that's what I want. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? So I was very like, this is not, no way. And I would just rather go sit at the bar and see what happens.
100%. And I prefer in person as well. But so here's the thing. I'm not an expert in every single area. I have my opinions about online, but that's what my master classes are for. So I bring on different experts who, like, that's all that they do. So this one girl named Jamie Date, she is a professional catfish. So she goes online as men, not attractive men, average looking men, and she hits on women. And she has a phenomenal success rate of getting these beautiful women engaged and getting them to say yes to a date or giving their phone number first, right? Yeah. Like, she's really good at doing that. So she has perfected the right profile, the right pictures to write, the right messages. And she's geared towards a younger audience, but the theory behind what she's saying works for every age group. It's all about, like, having fun, misconstruing information that's being given to you, and making fun associations so that you start off being playful in your interactions with women. Because as I said before, like, whether you're 80 or you're 22, you want to have fun. That's what that's what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially as you get older and you're like into your 40s, like I'm in my 40s and I'm like, you know,
you look so young.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
A little vampire blood in there. Never killed anybody, you know.
I'm gonna try it.
Right? Yeah, for sure. But you know, you do get to a place where you're like, fuck all this. Like, I think you want to have more fun in your 40s than you do in your 30s, because in your 30s it's like,
yes, but you want to do it before 9 o'clock at night. That's all the difference is.
Well, you know, coming from a vampire, I stay up very late.
That's true. Well, do you have kids?
No.
Then yes. Okay, fine. So once you have kids, you're like, okay, let's be out by 5:30, home by 9, in bed by 9:30. Perfect. That sounds like amazing.
Mean, Dustin is not having kids, but I totally get it.
Okay, smart. Very smart.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I have to make the smart moves now. We're 42. Yeah. We can't fuck around. Yeah.
We're the same age.
You know, George Clooney said the same thing, and he wound up with some kids and a wife. So
yeah, you never know, right? Never say never.
You never answered his DM, so he was forced to find another way. Okay.
Or I screwed him because I didn't answer his DMs. He had to get married and have children.
Yeah, he
could be suing me at the moment.
Yeah, he should. He really should.
He should.
Okay, so what did the pandemic do to dating? What did it do to your business? Because I think this is a fascinating question, because I feel like Have things changed, Marni? Are still the
Yeah,
basic things still the same?
totally.
What's going on?
Oh, for my business? Yes.
Well, just
Totally changed it. Have
and
things
for dating,
changed?
yeah.
No.
Okay.
I mean,
Can
they
you
did
elaborate a
during
little
the they
bit?
did during the pandemic, but
Yeah.
they didn't. And but then so many things have changed, right? There's more social media, there's more dating apps, there's more anxiety, and there's more options. So those are the things that changed, right? But I mean, during the pandemic, there was definitely different ways to be dating. But
Yeah.
I just feel like it's all gone back to what it was before, or at least the way that I remember. And to be honest, the same issues that guys were having in 2004 are the same issues that they're having now. There might be like, new toys to play with,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all kind of the same. But I will say, like, for most guys, they're just like, I've gotten out of a 10-year relationship or a 5-year relationship, but I don't know how to online date, right? How do I do this? Or, we didn't have cell phones back when I wasn't married. And now how do I text a woman? So, but those things were happening before the pandemic. So I wouldn't now. I just feel like it's all back to normal, but with a little bit more chaos involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of chaos. I feel like
Yeah.
the social,
That's everywhere.
but people want to blame like, oh my boyfriend would have never cheated if it wasn't for TikTok and Instagram. It's like, yeah, he would have found a way to do it. That there's just easier access, but because there's easier access doesn't mean that's why he did it. It's human behavior, right? So I hate when people blame shit like that. I just didn't know, like, because I have a lot of people on the show and they're like, since the pandemic, the amount of sex that we're having in America has declined, but the kind of sex that we're having, like BDSM and kink and sex parties, like we talked about in the beginning, have gone up, and they're more vocal, which is a very interesting time and place to be at with all of that, right?
Yeah, I guess. So it's funny. I didn't even think about that when you were. Yes, 100%. Like, I think like our minds have gotten larger on what's allowed and what's not allowed, and what we can try and what we can be open about, and what everybody's sharing that they're trying. I just read, oh my God, A Billion Wicked Thoughts. It's like an older, not that old, but an older book that was talking about desire and how they explain how they, before the internet, they used to do these experiments where they would put people into a dark room and tell everybody, anything you do in here, you're going to be anonymous. Right? I don't even know how long, because they didn't say how long they were in these dark rooms for, but they just said, you're never going to know anybody in there. Don't share your info. Everything's anonymous. And they found that over time, people would start touching in there. People would start kissing in there. People would start doing lots, so when they're anonymous, they just do like their fantasies come out, right? And then you create this other dark room called the internet, where everybody's desires get to come out, and then they get to be reinforced, right? Because you're like, oh, you're thinking of that, I'm thinking of this. Oh, and then and somebody else thought of this too. So I do think it's like, it's not like the old days where you're like, I hear of 3 things that are out there that you can do. Now you can hear of everything, and you can go down all these paths of like, oh, people are doing this is possible. This is possible. There is a lot of information being thrown at you, and you're like, okay, I'm not so weird. And now my mind is kind of blown about the availability or the options of things that are accessible to me now that I can try out.
No, that's fucking fascinating. And yeah, maybe like, I mean, you did say it, like people are probably just cooked, like with all the stuff. I mean, there's, about to be 2 old guys screaming at each other on TV again for why we're doing this again, and like,
stuff's I know, but now it's just like, it's just shoved in your, I don't know. I don't use social media, so I'm not getting it as often, but I have gone onto social media before for like month stints. Yeah. It just made me feel like shit. And so I only have like nice things on there, right? So it's a lot, even too much for me. Like, I watch the news and I go look at the news every single day. So it's just, I think the difference is that more stuff's being thrown at us, and more stuff's just being skewed. Like, even for myself, I started YouTube so long ago. I don't know how I would start it now online. There's so many people, and they're all giving great advice, to be honest. Like, everybody has an opinion. It's just so much information. That may be like the biggest change, I would say, from COVID, even though I think it was starting before then. I think it's just ramped up even more. It's just like everybody's on there and everybody's giving an opinion. And I've told my kids they can't watch YouTube shorts anymore, because it's just like, done. Like, it's just too much information being thrown at you. You can't even take it in. And then kind of paralyzes you, which is kind of also, what online dating does for some people. It's like, oh, there's always another option, but there isn't. That's the thing. There isn't always another option. There's potential, but now it just feels like so accessible, even though you haven't accessed it yet.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. Well, and I think if you started YouTube today, I think you'd be just as successful, because not only is it your consistency and the quality of what you do, but like you're just good at how you deliver the message. And I told you this before. It's like
I can hear it again though.
These topics that are difficult, right, especially for men to hear, and you put them in a way that's like consumable, in the sense like they can take it from you because you're not an asshole. You're not being like, yo, those fucking hats you wear are fuck. Like you're not.
Yeah, I'm not beating them down. To be honest, I put men on a pedestal. Like I've been called a misogynist before, and it's not like I dumb down women or I'm trying to be belittling to women. I'm trying to be honest to both sides about how people work.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask that too, if you ever had like backlash to your content.
I mean, to be honest, I don't read it. Like I go on for the first day. So I remember when my videos first started coming out and people would write really rude things and I would just be so depressed. And then I was like, oh, I'm not going to read this anymore. That's easy. Yeah. So I'll go on the first day and I'll respond to comments that come in. Sure. And if I do see negative ones, I'm just like, like, I don't know. I think it's, again, but it's sort of the same thing. Like I've just seen so much of it. Right. It doesn't bug me anymore because I see also like so many good things. So I have to lean towards those more.
Well, who called you a misogynist? The guy at the deli or what?
No, like lots of people. I don't even remember. I'm sure even when I was even just talking to women, I'm sure they said, well, I don't even know, but I know I've been labeled as a misogynist before because I'm so pro man. Right? Which I'm not supposed to be in 2024.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's fine. Then I will. It's interesting.
You already know that.
I just got off a coaching call with this one like really wonderful man who he's very wealthy and he's in his 70s and he surrounds himself with, 25 to 29-year-old beautiful women who want to go to St. Bart's with him, want to go for dinners with him. And like he leads with his wallet, but he's having a blast. Everybody's getting what they want. There's no misinformation, And so I'm totally fine with that. There's no judgment there. Everybody's happy. But then he told me this story about how he, had offered up to this woman that he kind of works with or kind of works for him. And she had gone on vacation with him before. But he had said to her, okay, but the only thing that I ask is that when we go to this one place, it's a nude beach, you have to go naked. And she said, okay. And then they got there and she didn't go naked and he was pissed. Right. And I was like, well, that was like a little sexual assaulty. Right. Like I'm pro man. You can date a 25-year-old and have fun where other women would be like, what the hell are you telling these guys to do? Like, that's ridiculous. But I'm pro that. Whatever you want to do to have fun if everybody's happy. But it's when it flips over into an exchange and expectations of something because you've given money to somebody or you're potentially holding something over their head that there will be no more money for them if they don't do something sexual, then I'm like going to label it for what it is.
Yeah. I mean, so two things very quickly before we get to the last question of the episode. I can't believe it's already been this long. This is crazy, right? One, this is why you're so good in my humble opinion, is because you're not putting down somebody for wanting to have a ton of sex with a ton of people. Hey man, just be honest. You're not putting down somebody for being 70 years old and pulling a Leo DiCaprio, right? And like,
great.
Like what are we, and the second thing is like, what are you even doing to Leo DiCaprio? People like bashing him all of a sudden. This has been going on forever. Number one. Yeah. Number two, it's fucking legal. And number three, you're just talking about it. You want to cancel him for what? I don't get that. Why is
enjoying his life and liking attractive things whose boobs don't sag and still want to have a lot of fun. What's wrong with that?
Right. And
that's where I get the misogynist label.
Well, that's just bullshit. That's such bullshit.
I think so too.
Well, we agree on a lot of things.
You are not labeling me that way. Good.
Oh my God. Why would I? No, I think you're so far ahead of the curve that if you started today again, that it would be just as successful and whatever. Final question. Let's say, and it's not an easy one, but I'm sure you'll ace it because you're good. Let's say there's someone out there, right? And he's just feeling defeated. His body's not in great shape. He's on financial, whatever it is, all the things, anxiety, too much TikTok, all the things. What's like step 1 and 2 of how to get out of that besides calling you? Cause he'll do that too. But like,
get off TikTok and start walking. I mean, that's so easy. Like that's what you would say too, right? Put the phone down, get off your social media and walk. Walk 5,000 steps a day. Start at 5,000 and just walk.
Ask yourself what you really truly want. You know what I mean? That's another thing, part of it too. Yeah.
Yeah. I like at the end of the day, like, yes, you have to be very clear on who you are and what it is that you want. But that can be very overwhelming for people because some people are, I don't know who I am. Yeah, so like, how about you're at first the guy who can just move?
Yeah.
You're the first guy that can just get off social media, right? That's like a, beat your chest kind of thing. I'm not on social media. Right? So just be that guy first. So just achieve one thing first, and then the other things can follow much more easily.
Boom. Marni, your own personal wing girl. This has been an honor, by the way. Thank you so much for being here.
Me too. I had fun.
Let's tell them where they can find you, where they can take all your courses, give you buckets and buckets of money, where they can.
I don't want anybody's money. Don't tell anything. No, I would say, so I actually have, it's a free mini course and it's on what is it on again? The 5 attractive traits that women find most desirable and how to actually get these traits. So it gives you exercises and tools about how to hone and own these traits. So you go to fwithher.com and I think you have to put your email address in there because that's what you got to do these days. But just put your email address in and you will get the free mini course. And then I'm also going to start sending you newsletters and I will point you in the direction of everything else that I have. My YouTube channel, my podcast, all of that. But go to fwithher.com and you get a free mini course from me.
Amazing. Well, I would love to have you back. I actually had an idea of something that's always happens to me. So once we stop recording, we'll talk about it. But thank you so much for being on Sex Party. And I look forward to doing this again soon.
Me too.
Big thank you to my guest, Marni, for being on the show with me this week. It was a true honor to finally get her on. If you guys are loving guests like Marni, first of all, what you want to do is you want to make sure you go over and show her some love. Follow her on all of the platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I don't even know, right? But just go follow her everywhere. And then if you're a guy and you want some help, or if you're a woman and you have some questions, fire those questions off to her. Buy her courses. Give her some attention. Show her some love. If you're loving guests like Marni, you want to see more with Marni. She'll be back on the show at some point, but you're just really hungry. You're just really thirsty for Sex Party. You love these episodes. You look forward to Wednesdays, right? What can you do to show some appreciation, some love? Well, if you're listening on platforms like Apple and Spotify, you could, I guess you could tell your neighbor. That's cool. I guess, especially if you don't know your neighbor, you could just walk over and say that you love Sex Party and they should too. But you could leave a review. You could leave a rating. Those things are awesome, right? Telling the neighbor is awesome. But what you really want to do is you want to make sure that you subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode every single Wednesday. And I get you as a valued subscriber, right? Especially if you're on Apple Podcasts. Apparently, they have been unsubscribing people to certain shows. Go to Sex Party with Dustin Rybka on Apple Podcast. Upper right-hand corner, make sure there's a check mark there, not a pause button. Check mark, not a pause button. Hit that button until it's a check mark, okay? Now you've resubscribed. If you're watching this on YouTube, what is your most embarrassing hookup story? What's your most embarrassing story about trying to hook up with somebody, approaching somebody? How did it backfire, right? Drop it in the comments. You guys are always great. If you're watching on YouTube, I love you. I see you. You also should subscribe to the show. You can leave a comment. You can like the videos. But if you subscribe to the show, I get you as a valued subscriber, and you get a brand new episode of this craziness every single Wednesday. As always, I'm available in the DMs on Instagram, and I will see you all right back here next week.
Thanks for listening. The party continues next week. Click subscribe and let's make this a regular thing. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter @SexPartyFM. Follow Dustin @DustinRybka.